Did you start the broadcast? La Yellow Duck.
Hello, hello. I think we are live. I hope we are making it live. And welcome. Today, we want to talk to you again about drive wealth. And if you watched yesterday, we were live talking about why wealth is important. Is it important today? Is it cash important? Is wealth important to me, my family, my business? So I want to share a couple of things and just get into the nitty-gritty numbers about why wealth is important and how do we actually get to it. And I found some really fascinating piece of information that I want to share with you here, and just so we can get grounded why wealth is important before we even talk about how and what and all of that, just to see how does it affect us. So I want to share with you a couple of things about wealth, right? So the definition of wealth, or one of the definitions of wealth would be an accumulation of valuable economic resources that can be measured, right, in terms of goods and money value, right? Now, how do you actually know how much wealth do you have? To be able to increase your wealth, to build wealth, to drive more wealth in your family, right, and generations, you want to know, how do you measure? So the number one, way we measure wealth is through net worth, right? And we hear all kinds of terms about net worth, like what does it mean? What is high net worth individual? At what point? Based on whose standards, right? So all these questions, we want to just go a little bit deeper and really see, what does it mean, right? So net worth is the most common measure of wealth, right? And how do you measure it? You take all the assets that you have. Assets include all the cash, right? All your real estate or the investments, the retirement account, the cash value, all these items, and you take out all the debts that you have, right? You might have mortgages, you might have loans, you might have other things that you got to pay, real estate taxes or taxes that you owe for back years or whatever the case might be. That's your net worth, right? So let me see if I can make this bigger so you guys can see. Um, That's it. Okay, this looks a little bit better. Now, why assets and what kind of assets make up wealth? And if you look here at the graph, let me see, maybe I can make this a bit bigger so you guys can see. Oops, let me go up. Um, I can make it bigger, but we'll hope you can read it. Okay. Now, according to, we have some resources here, the Federal Reserve Survey of Consumer Finances, right? We have some data based on the amount of net worth someone has, what kind of assets and what is included in their net worth. And it's really mind-boggling. You can see the trend. So the less wealthy you have, the more cash you hold, right? And it's the liquid, the green side of the actual graph. And then the primary residence, you see where people spend so much money. Like if your net worth is $10,000 to $100,000, that's mostly all the money that you have. And it really makes a big shift when you cross over the 10 million mark, right? That's the point where really the principal residence that you have makes a big, big shift. So why is this important? Because you're looking where you invest your money. So for example, if you're running a business, and I hope you're watching me because you're running a business or you have investments, right? So if we have investments, if you look at the bottom, like the 1 billion, right? Like again, how many people get in that category? Not many. What is more than half of their assets sitting in business interests? We think real estate is it, right? Now, don't get me wrong, some of the business interests might be in real estate. I'm not saying that's not the case. What I'm saying is, like, let's be curious, right? Where do you want to be? What number do you feel comfortable being in as, an entrepreneur, as someone who's really trying to work to increase the wealth that you have for yourself and for your kids, generational wealth, right? So this graph really kind of pops up And let's say you want to be at 10 million mark. A lot of people that I hear that are 10 million mark, a lot of people. So if you look at this, the 10 million mark is the most diverse. It has the most, I feel like the numbers, any one number is not outrageous. Like I feel like it's such a balanced place to be because of the, you still have lots of, assets in cash. You've got your primary residence. You've got some of the cars. Cars are really small. You've got retirement accounts. You have life insurance account, like mutual funds. Look at the mutual funds bar. The really light green. It's the mutual funds. Listen, guys, people say mutual funds are dead. Look at the investments a person that has a 10K net worth has in mutual funds. Almost none. They buy expensive cars. They buy expensive homes, right? They might do retirement. Everything else is really, really, really small. So you have to really remember, what does 10K in net worth mean? Means that they have an excess of $10,000 over their asset, the fair market value of their asset, including retirement accounts, the cash value of life insurance, all the things that they own. Really interesting. I love this graph. It's just really interesting. Now, I have a couple of questions here. There's some of the pieces. People say, what should your net worth be? Now, I hear a lot of people saying the general rule of thumb is, you should have your net worth double your annual salary. What if you're an entrepreneur and you decide what your salary should be, right? And if you work with us and we say, well, for tax planning purposes, you don't want to have $200,000 in salaries. You might just want to have $45,000 or $55,000, depending on how we run the numbers, right? So the average net worth right now in America, right? If you look at the under the age of 35 is 76,200, right? 45 to 54 is 727,000 average net worth. Okay. So if you see, there's not a whole lot of people that are over $1 million in net worth average in the US, right? So you have the category 55 to 64 and 65. Now, if you're looking at how much net worth do you need to make you rich? Now, you see a lot of things out there. So average in the US, I think it's 2.2 million to be considered like rich, right? To be wealthy. High net worth individual begins at 2.2 million. But that, like, we can go over that conversation a little bit deeper because that it matters where you are. So there was a study, I think Kiplinger put out, and in the study, they said that depending on the metro area, so in San Francisco, you had to have like 5.1 or 5.4 million to be, to be that ultra rich, to be high net worth, versus Orange County and San Diego, you had 3.4. Then I think New York was the next one at 3.1 million. And some of the other like larger metro areas kind of fell below that. I think Phoenix and some other places in Colorado, they were like a 2 million mark, right? So it all depends. Average throughout the United States is 2.2 million. But look at this. To be in the top 1% of wealth. And why is this important, guys? We talked yesterday why wealth is important. You have to decide where you want to be, right? Like, to be rich or the top 1% of wealth, you should have approximately $10 million. This is probably the most agreed sentence by many different people in the industry, right? But the top 1%, what is required by age to make it to that 10 million? So if you are at the age of 25 right now, you should already have $390,000 in net worth. So if you're 45, if you don't have $3.4 million right now in net worth, you're not going to make it, they say, right? So just food for thought. Just don't take it, listen, just take what's useful to you. What my recommendation is, decide where you want to be. It just takes a decision to see, where do I want to be? Do I just want to make cross the million in net worth? That's fine. Do I just want to do this? Whatever you decide, just decide where you want to be, because that is the first step to drive wealth, to know exactly where do you want to be on the graph. And that gives you an image. What do I need to put my money? What do I need to do? Like, if I have access to cash, how do I bring that cash to drive the wealth that I really want it to be, right? And we always think that we're the exception, and we're not the extension. So Thomas Stanley, he has his whole website and all this, but he has a couple of things going on in here. He says there's 7 characteristics, right, for the accumulator of wealth, right? They live below their means. the millionaire next door, right? They don't live in necessarily the biggest home with the most expensive car. They allocate their money, energy, and time in ways that contribute to building wealth. When you have access to cash and you bring cash coming in from your business, from your investments, it's really important. How do you want to drive your wealth, right? Really, really important. They believe that financial independence itself, it's more important than the display or appearing to have a high social status. And I know a lot of people disagree with me on this, but it's really that's about it, right? Their adult children self-sufficiently economically. We don't still fund our adult children because they can't fend for themselves, right? They understand how to target economic opportunities. Do you see a good opportunity when you see it? Can you assess if it's even a good investment or good opportunity when it comes your way, right? And they choose the right occupation. Listen, this one, you can fight with me on this one. A lot of people say, you can debate, but you should do what you love or love what you do. You can choose which one fits you. But like the right occupation is really important because this really sets you up for what you want to do. Like just because you are, a doctor doesn't mean you cannot be a business owner. Just because you are a real estate broker, it doesn't mean you can't have something else that you do. So everything that you do is really used for accumulation of wealth. So just be open and open-minded. If you remember something from today, I think I had one more thing here. It says, and again, the same Stanley says 15 ways through which you can become ultra wealthy. I'm not going to go through all of them, but like it's the mindset, right? Several streams of income. Everybody talks about these things, right? Is it about the debt? Is it about what I can do? Is it about the job? Is it about the business that I'm putting my money in? Where do I invest in? We talk about investments a lot. Do I invest in myself? Do I invest in my company? Do I invest in someone else? Lots of questions. I'll lay you with this. I just wanted to show it to you just because it was very interesting. But if you remember something from today, I want you to choose what's the net worth you want to have for your life. Where do you want to be? Forget about the age, forget about where you are right now, forget about all of this. Choose the end for you. What's the end of the road? Is it going to be a 1 million mark? Do you think that's going to be what it takes you and your generation and the next generation in your family to make it? Do you want to leave that legacy? Do you care? Do you want to stay at 10K? Whatever the case might be, listen, you decide what kind of investor do you want to be? What kind of person do you want to be, right? And that's it. If you decide this, everything else comes into place. Like you choose the investment, you choose how to drive wealth into your bucket. How do you fill in all these buckets and what do you need to put in your bucket to really get to that place? So I hope this is useful. I just want to share something with you. Our Drive Wealth Summit is now open. It's going to take place on August 31st. So please go on drivewealthsummit.com, register for the summit. We're going to have great conversations about how do you increase your drive wealth? How do you drive wealth to your bucket, to your family, right? So we're going to have amazing speakers, amazing conversations about tax savings, cash profits, wealth building. So join me. Go right now on drivewealthsummit.com. And I would love to see all of you there. Bring your questions, bring your friends, bring your family, bring your brother, bring your sister. So I love you all, and I can't wait to see you. Go on drivewealthsummit.com.